A really warm welcome. And when I say warm, I hope everybody's got such a nice sunshiny morning as I've got this morning. But it's brilliant to see so many people on our session today. Many of you are old hands at our Leading Ladies programme, and it's brilliant. We've been running this programme for such a long time now, and it's never fails to be an inspiring conversation and a bit of a sneak peek into a lady that is running an enterprise, a business, social enterprise, whatever that might be, an organisation that really brings her leadership talents to the fore, and we get to hear a bit of her journey. You get to ask some questions, and then we'll have a panel session where we are joined by some of our local members and we just get the chance to have a chat. And I always really enjoy this event, and people say, I've got the best job in the world, but I really, really enjoy these events and these chats that we get to have. It's a fab way to start a day off. So thank you to you all for coming, and thank you to our speakers for joining us today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Chamber and what the Chamber has been up to in the last few weeks, or maybe since the last time that you were on an event with us. As always, the Chamber is busy looking at business support and what businesses need from us. We've been working really hard in the background on our own digital transformation project. And for those of you that have ever done something like that, you think it's such a good idea to start, and then you get knee deep in it and you think, oh, are we ever going to get this over the line? So our team are just working so hard in the background on all of that, and really looking to bring some brilliant new solutions for Chamber members to help you connect better and make the most of your membership with us. So lots of that going on. But also, if you joined us at our event with Dundee University in April, where we were talking about what the future of work would look like, we've been involved in some brilliant conversations through that over the last few weeks. I mean, at that event, we were discussing some key themes. So we picked out 4 key themes that businesses would be interested in talking about, and that would help us all shape what we're looking at going forward. And obviously net zero was kind of top of the list to be talking about, because policymakers, everybody is talking about green growth and green recovery and net zero and climate change and what that means for the planet and for the world. But often businesses struggle to find the bit in that is the opportunity for them. So, we often know personally what we could or should do, but as a business, it can be difficult sometimes to work out, well, how do you adopt a strategy that's going to play into net zero and all of that policy that's coming our way. And the other things that we talked about were what the future of our workplaces would look like. If we've got offices or buildings, what will the use of those look like in the future? And I think we're all grappling with that at the moment. What does the hybrid return to work look like for those of us that have been working at home for a long time? We also discussed future skills. And again, that world is just changing so much, whether it's thinking about the new entrants to your business and what succession plan might look like, or whether you're thinking about making sure that all these digital skills that we've all just had to learn very quickly in the past really become embedded in our businesses, and that's really important. Or upskilling your existing workforce, or people that are just having to now think about different sectors because the sector they were in no longer has got the opportunities that it might have had in the past. And we need to think about, where are the opportunities and where should you look at to use your skills best. So skills were definitely a thing. And then of course, digital innovation was the fourth of the topics we discussed. And there's so much in that, whether that's about adopting cutting edge technology or whether it's just bringing your internal or your external digital assets up to speed. And there again, an awful lot for businesses to look at and think at. And those 4 themes are going to be something that will drive our activity as a chamber in the next 18 months and beyond, as we develop programs and we have conversations with businesses, and we just encourage as many businesses as possible to really think through these kind of key strategies and use them to future-proof, sustain and grow your businesses. Lots of really interesting things going on. And then, of course, we're going to hear from Melissa, who's running a business in Birmingham at the moment, and things north and south of the border are just slightly out of step. So it might seem a bit strange to Melissa when I say that we had our very first face-to-face net walking networking event last week, and so it's been a really strange year and a bit, where normally events are the core thing that the Chamber does, and we're so used to seeing thousands of people a year face to face and helping you develop those relationships. And so, you know, we did, as you might say, baby steps and ran an event in real life last week, which was really well received. The sun was glorious and really shone on us, and people enjoyed a walk around Dundee's waterfront. And we're currently looking at organising something within the next 2 to 3 weeks in Angus. So we're really hoping to make sure that we can continue to do that. And obviously we're now getting word about, you know, restrictions easing, slightly different paces than we all think it you know, we sometimes are led to believe, but it doesn't matter as long as we're on the right path there, then that's the best thing. So I guess that's a bit of a roundup from what the Chamber has been doing. At the end, I'll come in and talk a little bit about some of the events that we have planned, but I'm going to get out of the way now and hand over to our ladies, who are going to tell us a bit more about themselves. So just a slight recap on our running order. So first of all, I will welcome Melissa Snover, who's our leading lady today, and I've had a sneak peek at her slides as she was running through them. Geez, we've got, I think there's going to be a lot of questions, and we're going to be, it's just such a completely different industry for us to hear about today. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I know Sarah particularly has been really keen to kind of get Melissa into one of our events. And this is the beauty of technology, isn't it? That we're able to do that and do it so seamlessly today. And once Melissa has done her told us about her journey, I'll then bring in Susan and Louise, who are local in the Tayside area, and they'll tell you a little bit about what they do, and then we'll have questions for the three ladies. So if you've got a question, drop it into the chat, I can pick that up, and if you'd like to put your virtual hand up at that point, then I can bring you in to ask your question yourself. So Melissa, if you would like to unmute, and when I can hear you and I can see your screen, I'll mute and get out of your way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alison. And actually, if I can say, in England, we haven't had any face-to-face events, really. I did my first face-to-face meeting, I think last week. So yeah, I think it's the same over here. A lot of people are very trepidatious about it. So let me just share my screen, and hopefully we will be all good. Huh. Let's try that, because it's gone to the end of the thing. Can you see it now?
Yes, sure can. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Well, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. And Sarah, thank you so much for your patience. I know we tried to do this several times, so it is great to finally be able to do it. My name is Melissa Snover. I'm currently the CEO and founder of a business called Remedy Health. And Remedy Health's mission is to use 3D printing technology, which we develop in-house, to personalize the health and wellness market. You can probably hear from my voice that I'm not from these fair shores. I'm actually American, and I came to the United Kingdom on a full ride scholarship for my master's degree at Lancaster Business School when I was in my mid-20s. And on the back of that program, I actually developed a company idea. This was a financial business in the first instance. And by the time I finished my program with Lancaster, it was actually a very successful business. So I stayed in the UK to run that company, ended up selling it. And then I really began my journey into kind of the pathway that led me to where I am today in 2010, when I created the world's first vegan, allergen-free gummy candy range, which was called Goody Good Stuff. I made this product really because I wanted it. And I think a lot of people will tell stories like that from the entrepreneurial world. I've been a vegetarian since I was 17. And I think I'm one of the only women that I know that is not really fussed about chocolate. I don't despise it, but I'm not really bothered. And so I actually really enjoy gummy candy. And I really struggled to find gummy candy that was available without meat-based gelatin, which is like 99% of all the gummies that are available in the market. So I decided I'm not satisfied with that. And so I bought a bunch of gelling agents on Amazon and started to basically do recipes in my kitchen, playing around with alginate technology, and basically ended up developing a recipe that used a gelling agent that came from seaweed and was able to create a really realistic, bouncy gummy, which was vegan and basically safe for vegetarians and vegans to eat. On the back of that research that I was doing around those gelling agents, I started to see also that there was a ton of people at that time in 2010 that were really trying to avoid more than just gelatin. There was certainly a lot of people avoiding gelatin, but there was a lot of people talking about avoiding other ingredients, such as things like gluten, dairy. This was really the beginning of the free from movement. So luckily, at that same time when I was developing the product, I decided I would make it allergen free too. And that really paid dividends, because when I went to places like Tesco, Sainsbury's, and Asda to try to sell this product into them based on its vegan credentials, I was laughed out of the offices. And I was told by the Tesco buyer to remove the word vegan from the packaging because it was going to scare the consumers. And so it's funny now, because in 2020, veganism is super trendy, whether you're really a vegan or not. It's very, very trendy. And certainly it's something that is definitely a USP. But at the time, to be fair to him, he was right. And on the back of the allergen-free credentials of the product, I ended up going to the United States. I pitched one buyer. I had one meeting. I flew all the way over to Boston, Massachusetts. I did one meeting. And luckily, I was able to walk away from that meeting with an 800 store listing with Stop and Shop across the northeastern seaboard of the US. On the back of that order, which he gave me an advance PO, I was able to invoice factor it to get cash to turn the factory lines on, because I had no more money left after my development. And on the back of the success of that original launch, I was able to then go on and get that product listed and sold in 40,000 stores across the globe in under 2 years, making it the fastest growing confectionery brand on earth. On the back of the success that we had with that business, I had a ton of people contacting me, asking if we would be willing to accept investment, if we would be willing to sell the company. And really, I think it was the third company that contacted us unsolicitedly, really made us sit up and think, okay, maybe there is an opportunity here. So PricewaterhouseCoopers represented me on the international market. I had 12 management presentations from huge multinational conglomerate companies, all of which were making food, and I'm sure you can imagine the names. Out of those 12, I received 10 bids for the company, and I ended up selling the business to Cloetta PLC, which is a large publicly traded confectionery and snacking business based in Stockholm, Sweden. In the UK, the most famous brand that they own is called Chewits, which is a very popular, Kenny, you might remember from when you were a kid. It's not really an adult confection, but it's very popular, and that's one of the brands that they own. But in the rest of the European markets, they have many, many other brands. And on the back of that sale, which was the youngest food brand to ever be sold in the European food M&A market, I got obviously a decent amount of money, but not as much as people think. So that's something that I learned very early on, that when you hear these massive headlines about people selling their businesses, it's not always exactly what it sounds like. And then I actually went in to work in Cloetta because they offered me a job that paid about 3 times more than I ever paid myself. And I decided I would give that a go. Now, I'm probably not a big surprise to anyone in the audience who is an entrepreneur. I found it very difficult to go from being an owner-operator to being an employee in a very, very large corporation. The decision-making process alone was very difficult, was maddening. And so I really, really struggled to be able to do my best work under those environmental conditions. And so regardless of the fact that Cloetta were a great company and I liked them very much, I decided that I would need to move on if I was going to be happy in my career going forward. But I was very lucky because during the process of selling Goody Good Stuff, I was actually able to meet lots of other companies, that were interested to buy the brand. And one of those businesses was a company called Katjes. And probably not everyone in the audience has heard of Katjes. That's totally normal. But I'm sure that you know the brands that they make. Katjes is the producer of the Marks and Spencer Percy Pig. And they actually came up with that product. A little trivia fact for you. Percy Pig is a product from Germany that's called Fred Ferkel, and it's been available in supermarkets under the Katjes brand for, I mean, I think since the 1950s. Ferkel means pig in German. And so someone went over from M&S, found it, and they said, can we use this in the M&S universe? And so Catches actually makes that product for them, along with all the Colin the Caterpillar products. And they're one of the reasons why you see Marks and Spencer Confectionery pushing towards vegetarian, because they are in their normal business 100% veggie. Well, luckily when I met them, they were very excited about the Goody Good Stuff brand, but they actually contacted me after the sale and said, you know, we would very much like to work with you. If you decide to be an entrepreneur again, we would love to partner with you in a JV. And so when I decided to leave Cloetta, they were the first person that I called. I contacted the owner of the company, the gentleman in the picture with me there, whose name is Bastian Facine. He's the great-great-grandson of the man who started Catches in 1910. And he is also the owner of the entire business to this day. And I said, I would like to have a discussion. I have an idea. It's a little bit out there. I'm interested to hear what you think. And this is really where I started my journey into the world of 3D printing of food. So basically, when I was making Goody Good Stuff, I was making inside of humongous factories, and I was frustrated by a very huge number of different things around that process and the way that it worked. The first thing was that when I made Goody Good Stuff products, I had to make 100,000 bags of each flavor for them to turn the line on. This is a humongous cash outlay, right, for a small business. So that's why it's so prohibitive for young brands to be able to bring product to market. But secondly, to be able to develop a new product, or, you know, something for a seasonal item, like Halloween or Christmas or something, the lead time to do that was 18 months. And again, the minimum order quantity was 100,000 units. So unless you had like a global distributed business, there was no way you could do anything like that profitably. And the idea that you could create a single individual product for each person was completely ridiculous and outside of the realms of possibility. So when I used to do my sampling, which I used to do my own sampling because I really like to be close to the consumer, it helps you to stay grounded in making the best products for your customer. I used to go to Whole Foods Market in Kensington High Street in London, and I used to stand there all day handing out samples. 100 people would come, 99 people would be delighted. I had 8 flavors, which was way too many to begin with. But then one person would always come and say, do you not have sour watermelon, yuzu, blueberry flavor? And I would have to say, no. And that would devastate me. And it really, really bothered me. This idea that no matter how many flavors I made, and the fact that I certainly couldn't make more than 8 profitably, it would never be enough to be able to please everyone all the time. So as a highly developed empath, I naturally found that very difficult to take. And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. It was like a mite in my brain until I came up with this idea, which became my next development, which was called the Magic Candy Factory. So taking into account the fact that you can never, ever merchandise a store shelf with enough options to please everyone all the time. You can't even do that in an Amazon warehouse. My way of figuring out a solution for this was, what if we could create a device which would allow for people to come into a store or go onto a website and choose from a huge number of different variables. So what shape do you want? Do you want to write words? Do you want to do a picture? Do you want to draw something? And then what flavor do you want? Do you want it to be sour? Do you want it to be fizzy? Do you want it to be glitter coated? We did have glitter coating in Magic Candy Factory. That would be able to produce an unlimited number of outputs and in effect be able to create whatever confection the individual was thinking of and most desiring at that moment. And that was my solution. So that's when I started to think about, okay, how do we create this device? Well, in that time, 2015, I had never used a 3D printer before in my life. I had no idea. I had done computer programming in university, but it was very outdated by then. And I had never done, you know, mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. And so I was like, ooh, let's see if we can find somebody who can make this device for us. Contacted everyone, all of the biggest companies in the world doing 3D printing, MakerBot, Ultimaker, PrinterBot. If you're in this industry, you would recognize those names. If you're not, you won't, and that's okay. But none of them could do it. And none of them could do it in a way that would be food safe. And so I decided, right, I'm going to do it myself. So I sat down and I focused on nothing but that for 6 months, and I successfully developed 2 prototypes, a coding toolpath overriding system, and a patented material science, and launched those 3 concepts, all of which received successful patent grants in 2015 in less than 6 months. And I learned everything that I learned from the internet and from buying 3D printers and taking them apart and putting them back together. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about technology and about access to information. Now, certainly there are a lot of negative things, but there is no way in the world that I would have been able to do that 10 years before, because I would never have been able to get access to that information. So Magic Candy Factory launched in 2015. It won the Confectionery Innovation of the Decade in 2016 and launched in 150 locations all around the world. If you could leave this country right now, you could still find it in other places like Dubai Mall, Dubai Airport, Hong Kong Duty Free, Universal Studios, Florida, Warner Brothers World, in Abu Dhabi, and many, many more. And it was a humongous advancement for the world of 3D printing technology. But in the end of the day, the #1 product that the Magic Candy Factory made, let me just get one so I can show you, was something called a sweet selfie. 10 points for anyone who knows who this is. It's a famous star from the UK. And so basically you could take a photograph of yourself and the machine would turn your face into candy. So this is cool, but how many of these do you need in your life? Not one a day. So I decided that I wanted to think about ways that we could take the existing technology that I developed, add to it, modify it, and optimize it, and apply it in a way that would create meaningful and lasting value in people's lives on a daily basis by creating personalized solutions in the industry that I felt was most desperately in need of personalization and not currently getting it in any meaningful way from the market offering, which was health and wellness. So after a humongous amount of time in the lab and a lot of tests and tons of R&D, I launched the Remedy Health Group in May of 2019 to do just that. And this is a little video that we did for South by Southwest, which is a famous conference in Austin, Texas, which gives you a really nice summary and some nice video footage of what we do here today at Remedy Health.
At Remedy Health, our mission is to personalize the health and wellness sector using 3D printing technology. I'm Melissa Snover, the CEO and founder, and together with my superstar team, we have developed 12 proprietary patented technologies across hardware, software, process, and material science. We combine these in a multitude of different ways to personalize both the preventative and curative health sector under our brands, Nourished and Scripted. Nourished, our first product to market, is the world's first and only authentically manufactured personalized gummy vitamin. By answering a few short questions on our online consultation, our clever algorithm will gather information about your existing health, lifestyle, and goals, and produce a recommendation of 7 nourishments which are best suited to you from a vast list of 30 different vitamins, minerals, superfoods, and actives. We then 3D print all of our products in our hybrid manufacturing facility in Birmingham, using only the highest grade premium ingredients, which are always 100% sugar-free, vegan, GMO-free, and allergen-free. We ship all of our customers' products direct to door in 100% plastic-free, home compostable packaging, and all with less hassle, waste, and cost, but with higher impact than traditional store-bought vitamins. Nourish launched into the UK market 12 months ago and has already seen impressive traction building around the brand, with over 10,000 boxes being shipped from our facility every month. In addition, our health and fitness enthusiast customers are loving it and have made us the UK's favorite vitamin, with over 1,000 plus 5-star independently verified customer reviews on FIFO and Trustpilot. We're going to be launching Nourish Kids in April of this year and are hoping to also launch Nourish Protein, our personalized protein bar concept, under the same brand in Q4 of 2021. But that's not all. Over the last 18 months, my team and I have been working with doctors, patient care providers, pharma companies, and health organizations in order to apply our 3D technology in the spectrum of curative health, enabling these types of patient care providers to be able to create an unlimited number of dosages of single APIs that are personalized for their individual patients. leading to better care, better adherence, less wastage, and no human error. In addition, we're working alongside pharma companies and clinical trial organizations in order to use 3D printers in clinical trials during the scale-up phase, allowing for more robust data sets to be given to doctors and patient care providers for when the drugs finally reach market, specifically for underserviced populations such as pediatrics and geriatrics. At Remedy Health, we believe that everyone on this earth has the right for fit-for-purpose, personalized nutrition, health, and wellness solutions, and we won't stop until we make that a reality.
So that was made in January, and already the numbers are so historic. So I'll give you a little bit of an update because that's how fast growth it is. So I mentioned in that video my superstar team, and I truly meant it. This is my leadership team, but we actually now have 70 employees in the business. 18 months ago, we had 4. And that's just a demonstration of the growth. My leadership team are literally individual superstars and together truly unstoppable. Martin Ketchpole, my CTO, is also the co-inventor of all of our technology with me. And since we set up the Remedy Group, we've successfully secured another 7 patents on top of the 5 that I had before I started the company. The technology that we have is really the first in the world, and we know that because we're getting granted patents, but actually what it's doing is solving an issue that so many companies actually have. So everybody knows that personalization is not even a trend, it's a need now, right? People expect and need personalized products, not just in food, in many types of sectors and many types of product solutions. But making those types of products in a scalable and basically a price point approachable way. So it's something that's not going to be 10 times more expensive than the normal version, is something that even humongous companies have not figured out. And this is something that we've been able to do. And by combining these different technologies across machines, so our actual 3D printers are all made by us and also developed in-house, with our special processes, which are food safe and FDA and FSA and GMP compliant, and our amazing material science, which allows for us to rapidly encapsulate active ingredients, which create better absorption, we're able to really do something that nobody has ever really done before. The business is developed in this way. So Remedy Health is the company, and we basically approach the business aspects and development cycles in 2 different, what we call streams. So on the left-hand side, we have Nourished, and this is everything that we think about around preventative health, nutrition, vitamins, supplements, and functional foods. Under this brand, we've already launched the adult range of Nourished in both the United States and the United Kingdom. And we did successfully launch Nourish Kids in April of this year, and that's been live for just under 1 month, and it's been going extremely well, a little bit too well. And we are on target to launch Nourish Protein, which will be the world's first personalized protein bar, which has the ability to have unlimited flavor combinations, but also additional functional ingredients to be added to protein. So you can have a protein bar that doesn't just deliver protein, but also can deliver different nutrients, which are better absorbed when taken with protein. And on the other side of the business, we have the scripted business, which I spoke about in the video. Here we're working with the world's largest pharma partner and also the British Health Partnership, the NHS, and the Translational Medicine Society here in Birmingham to be able to use 3D printers to create better patient care solutions for live environments and to be able to speed up and reduce costs of bringing new drugs to market with better recommendations to allow in the future, we hope, for drug manufacturers to develop more drugs for rarer conditions, because at the moment, the reason they don't do that is because it's not profitable because the cost of the clinical trials is so high. The market opportunity for both of these concepts is massive. It's really, it makes you feel silly to say it out loud. $1 trillion, sounds like something from like an Austin Powers film. But that is true, and that is accurate information. And I think, you know, this is something that's not slowing down, and that wasn't, it's not new because of COVID. It was happening before. But one of the most exciting things for us, specifically for our business, is that we see that non-pill and chewable formats are the fastest growing parts of both of these types of markets. And we are really the only people in the world that can create a personalized chewable format for either of these types of solutions. So it's a really great place to be at the moment in the marketplace. So as I mentioned in the video, Nourished is our first concept to market, and this is basically a blown up picture of what a Nourish stack looks like. So as you can see here, there's different layers. Each of those has a different component that's specific to helping Olivia there to achieve her goals and to look after her lifestyle and her existing health conditions. We have an extremely clever and rigorously developed algorithm on our website, which walks you through a series of questions about your existing health and lifestyle and goals, and produces a recommendation of 7 different nutrients from a list of 30 different vitamins, minerals, superfoods, and actives, which are best suited to you. Each of these individual ingredients has been checked through one of the, if not the most rigorous QC processes of any vitamin company in the world. We actually don't list any ingredients that don't have at least one 10,000 person or more clinical pharma grade double placebo blind trial. And we don't actually make any products which are not available through a sustainable and vegan source. And it's really important. Also, I think probably it's important to mention for this specific talk is 98% of our product raw materials are sourced from the United Kingdom, not just our ingredients, but also our packaging and all of the other consumables that we use within our factory. I did that primarily in the beginning because I needed to Brexit proof the business, but also we believe very strongly in, you know, make local, use local, sell local, and so forth. And it has actually been extremely beneficial for us during this very, very choppy time across Brexit and the COVID crisis, the supply chain issues that are happening on a global scale. Our business has, I'm not saying we had no issues, but we had a lot less than a lot of other people, which is really because we set the business up in this way. So we have at the moment 2 sites in Birmingham where we have 30,000 square feet. And I think now 25 printers and a bunch of right now they are working, I think, God bless their hearts. I think they're doing triple shifts on 7 days a week because the demand is very high. And we're just in the process of building site 3, which will be ready and functional by Q4, where we'll be able to double our workforce again to be able to handle the ongoing demand. And then this is just some images of the product. I mentioned in the video, but I think it's really important to again, just point out that not only is the product more personalized and obviously in a very enjoyable to take format in a gummy, it's also packed in 100% home compostable plastic-free packaging, which is extremely important to me as a person and to our business, because if we want people to take vitamins every day, and we make this product with a plastic wrapper like some of our competitors, think of the waste that that would create on an annual basis. If today we have 20,000 monthly customers times 365 days a year, that number of wrappers going into a landfill is just not acceptable. So these actually look like plastic, and they are so awesome. They are made 7 miles away from my office. If we really had to, we could walk over there and get them. And they're made from a really innovative material solution around wood pulp. So if you bury that wrapper in your back garden, it will disintegrate into the earth because it's 100% biodegradable in 32 weeks or less. And that is super important to us. And that is something that we really, really care about. In addition, we also have some really interesting product claims that we didn't really expect to be able to have, but actually as we started to develop the product, it became very clear that we did. So if you think about vitamins that you might buy in like Holland & Barrett or Boots or whatever, and if you think about how they were made and how long it took them to get there, you can really start to see why this is better. So anything you put in your mouth, fresher is better. Anything with nutrients in it, fresher is better. You wouldn't buy 18-month-old bread. You shouldn't really buy 18-month-old vitamins because they are losing efficacy from the day that they're made. So when you look at a product that's made 18 months ago and you don't consume it for another month after you buy it, you're talking about up to 90% loss of nutrient density. And so when I hear a lot of people say vitamins don't work for me, I'm thinking, you probably are taking old vitamins, which have no nutrients in them at all anyway. Now our product, if you ordered our product today, before 12 o'clock, we would make it today, we would ship it tomorrow, and you would have it by Friday. And that is the freshest vitamin money can buy. And we can guarantee and have third-party validation tests, over 10,000 of them actually, that verify that our nutrient density is 99.5% manufacturer input, which means that you actually get more of the impact, which I think is wonderful. So not only is it fresher and it's made in the UK, but it's actually much better for you, which I think is a fantastic, added USP. The competition in our marketplace is absolutely massive. So when you think about our business, 18 months ago with 4 people, a woman with an idea, we were going, and we do go to battle every single day with all these people. Centrum invented the multivitamin in the 20s. So fair play. Thank you very much, Centrum. Vitabotics is the largest producer of vitamins in the UK and spends around 7 to 8 million in advertising a year. So tricky to get in front of them. And then you have the own brands, which are owned by the stores, which they promote heavily in store where all the shoppers are, right? So this is something that's really challenging. On the other side of the model, you have these companies that are basically selling on Amazon who are not abiding by the laws around vitamins. And oftentimes they're setting up and getting shut down in the same month, which is, I guess they maybe set up more than one business. And then on the other side of the chart, you see these people that are playing in the quote unquote personalized space. So Nourish is certainly not the first product in the world to say personalized vitamins. The first people to ever really develop a concept in personalized vitamins was a business called Care Of, which is based in the United States, which started in 2014. Basically, Care Of has a questionnaire. It's not as good as ours, but it's not that dissimilar from a format point of view. And you go through it, and then they recommend individual pills that you should take. Then they buy in bulk these pills that are made 18 months ago, and then they repack them in a plastic bag for you and send them to your house. Now, Care Of just got sold to Bayer for 225 million. So they have done, I think, as well as they can. But what they have done is not really personalize anything. They've created a convenience innovation, which is fair enough. But what they didn't do was create a moat. And this is one of the things that I really learned very early on in my business life was if you can, and sometimes you can't, but if you can, create the deepest moat that you can imagine to defend your business model. So what Care Of did was they created this super cool website, really nice marketing. They bought a flow wrapping machine, some bulk vitamins, and that was it, and set up a website. And every single one of these other companies directly copied them. It is an exact like for like copycat. Nothing is different at all. And so I feel bad for them in a lot of ways because now they're just competing on price with all of these people. And there's new ones of these popping up every 5 minutes because there is no barrier to entry whatsoever. Where we have done something very unique, we are the only ones who really have patented IP, authentic personalization that gives us a moat of defensibility and a true uniqueness in the marketplace. So I think, they will try and come, but this is something that we really take very seriously, and where a lot of business owners would not have spent the same level of time research and development, patents, and so on. I felt it was really important, and so far it has really paid dividends for us. I mentioned this in the video. This was really important to our business. When we first started, we had no ratings. That's super scary. When you have no ratings, no one wants to buy your product. Doesn't matter if it's great. Nobody will buy it. And it's so funny that people trust people that they never met and that they have no idea what their life is like. And they might be totally, nutcases, but they trust in their opinion. And it's important. And this is the world we live in today. People want to see, of course, if you get editorial coverage in a large newspaper or something, that's also very helpful. But actually customer reviews, independently verified customer reviews are so important. And so when we first started in January, it was really, really hard. In May, we won this title and our customer growth doubled overnight. And we have held it ever since. And I'm really proud of it. My customer service team and the company production and the product itself have really done, that's the reason we have this. And I'm so proud of the team. But yeah, without this, it would have been much slower to grow, and it really helped. And then community. So a lot of brands, not just in vitamins, in any type of a product that's selling online, are focusing maybe even more than half of their marketing strategy on influencers. I disagree. It's not a popular opinion, but I disagree. I think that it's very risky to bank on influencers selling your product for you, because they are basically heads for hire, and the consumer knows. They're not idiots. So I think where we have had the best results is authentic reviews about our product, where we give free product. I'm all for giving a free box away, but we don't pay influencers to talk about our product, and we never will, because I just don't believe in it. And I also don't believe in misleading the customer. I'm sure you guys can think of, there's a vitamin brand that has these posters with like Tess Daly and David Gandhi. I love this. Does anyone believe it? I don't think so. I hope not. I don't. So I really like to treat the customer like they are intelligent and that they deserve to be spoken to in a way that warrants that. And I think that getting people to authentically review your product is wonderful, but it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg. And I would always warn against using mega or macro influencers that are charging you a bunch of money, because the chances of them doing that for loads of other people and them losing the engagement that they have in the first place is very high. And then coverage, so PR. So we do our own PR, and I have done my own PR since I had Goody Good Stuff, and it's not as hard as everyone makes you think it is. In the US, it is harder, but in England, the media are very accessible. And there is a service called Response Source. So if you're looking at launching a brand or even promoting your own business that you're part of, there's a service called Response Source, which basically you can sign up for different categories. It costs different amounts of money per year depending on the categories, but I think we have 7 categories, which is a lot. A lot of businesses would only need 1, and I think we pay like £1,800 a year. And we get actual leads and requests for information, for products, for comment, for interviews directly from journalists, from broadcast media, from broadsheets, from print, from really, really big online. And they're literally trying to finish a story and they need help, and you answer them and you're helping them, and the chances of getting coverage is super high. And then you create a personal relationship with that journalist. And it is actually extremely successful for us. And I would highly recommend, if anybody is looking for brand awareness, to check it out. It's very good. There's also one in America called Help a Reporter Out. It's not, in my experience, it's not as good as Response Source, but Response Source is very, very good. And I would highly recommend it. And then awards. So we're very lucky that we have been featured in a lot of awards. And I think that that's really a testament to the business, to the amazing team that I have working with me. And really, this is great for us to build credentials, but it's also great because most of these individual organizations have their own PR. So they help you also to spread the word about your business, which, you know, it takes a little bit of elbow grease. Applications, depending on which one you're talking about, can go between, 5 minutes to, a couple of hours, but it doesn't cost money. And if you get even shortlisted, it's a great opportunity to be able to have some additional PR and coverage around your brand. And then this is a summary of our performance. So we shipped 20,000 boxes in April. We actually shipped 25,000 in May. The business is doubling every 3 months. And with the launch of US in November and the launch of Kids in April, that is really just kind of going like this. And it's challenging. No matter how much I wanted it to happen, it is a very, very fast growth, and there's growing pains that are coming with that. But we're very lucky that we are a full stack manufacturer. We make our entire product end to end, which means that we have very high gross margins. And that means that we can really be able to plow a lot of money back into hiring team, getting more resources, and building a really, really strong set of capability internally for the next stage of our growth. This is our Selfridges store launch. So if you are in London anytime soon, this is our store. This is our activation inside Selfridges Food Hall. It's highly successful. It's really cool. You can go in and see live printing. You can go and get a personalized recommendation from a special app that we built for the store. And this is really the first time that we've ever done retail. Everything else that we do is directly to the consumer. And then this is really kind of just a summary of the last kind of exciting thing that I think is maybe even more important than the product we have today. When developing products for consumers or creating a service set for a consumer, you need to be aware that what they need today is not going to be what they need tomorrow, is not going to be what they need the following month or year. And normally, one of the big challenges that comes with that, especially when developing physical products, is there's not enough time and it's not cost effective to continually develop new packaging, new product lines. It's very, very prohibitive. You cannot do it. But with 3D printing, right now, underneath me, they are making a unique product every 5 minutes. Well, they're making 20 because there's 20 printers going right now. Totally unique. We can make 22 billion combinations right now, and we do. And we can also develop new blends today. We could do like a brainstorming event right now on this call, and I could take our outcome and I could launch the product this afternoon on the website. That's how fast we can launch a range. And we can also add new ingredients in as little as 10 working days, because we have our own GMP lab, because we can integrate these types of things immediately into the concept if they passed our quality control and they pass all of our microbiological activity testing. So on the back of the way that we handle that, we listen directly to the customer. And here's some examples of what we did so far. So when Boston Medical came out and said, if you have a higher dose of vitamin D, it can really help reduce severity of COVID contraction, we tripled the D dosage in all of our products pretty much overnight, like overnight. When we looked at our customer service data during the COVID crisis, we found that the number of people contacting our CX team regarding mental health issues and asking for advice about supplementation to support mental health went through the roof. It went up by 600%. So we introduced a new ingredient called Scuttle Up, it comes from a plant called Sculptaria, and it's been shown in human clinical trials to be more effective at reducing anxiety than Xanax, and has no sedative effect whatsoever, and it's natural. So this is an amazing ingredient. We launched it directly on the back of it. And then we did some research and we did a survey of our customers, and we asked them how they were doing as we were starting to come out of lockdown, which really never happened in the end. We just went right back in again. But we asked them how they were feeling, and overwhelmingly, they told us they were feeling a little heavier. And actually, we found that in general, our customer set gained just under a stone during the lockdown. And so we went back to our research. We found an organic British apple orchard that would make us apple cider vinegar with extremely high levels of the active ingredient in apple cider that helps with weight loss and appetite control. And we launched it on the back of directly their feedback. And we will continue to do that as long as the customers want more different things. And then this is scripted. As I mentioned, this is a very important project in the long run. This has the potential to change the way that we look at medicine and to also save medical organizations like the NHS hundreds of millions a year. Very scary fact is that the NHS wastes over 300 million a year in medicine they throw away because it goes out of date or the bottles are half empty. And by using 3D printing technology, they can simply print the exact doses that they need. Nothing goes out of date. It's not even been manufactured yet. And so that would be eliminated immediately. It would also allow for us to be able to create an unlimited number of dosages for people in underserviced populations like pediatrics. One of the most frightening statistics that I learned while doing this project was that out of all the children globally admitted to hospital last year, 3 out of 10 of them, so 30%, were there because of misdosage of medication. And out of those, 17% of them died, and another 33% of them resulted in a chronic condition. That is unacceptable. And so by doing this, we would be able to eliminate that issue completely. 99% of drugs are developed for adults. commercially available dosages are primarily for adults, but children need medicine too. And so by doing this, we could actually eliminate that from ever happening again. And that would be the thing in my career I would be the most proud of, if we could have even a small impact and have some sort of a contribution to make that happen. And I already spoke about this before, and that's it. Ta-da.
Melissa, thank you so much. I have got so many questions written down. I'm going to have to wait for the audience and let other people get a chance to ask questions. So just a reminder, put your questions into the chat if you've got anything that you want and you'd prefer me just to ask. And what we'll do is we will ask it of the kind of the whole panel. So I think what I'd like to do now is just bring in Susan and Louise. So if you would, ladies, if you'd just like to introduce yourself, a little bit about what you do and your day job, and then we'll dive into some questions. So Susan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Mcfadden. So I'm a partner in the corporate and commercial team at Blackadder's Solicitors in Dundee. So most of the work I do is really around helping businesses develop and grow, from startups, small companies, to bigger international companies, but it's things around buying and selling businesses, as Melissa will have experience of now, joint ventures and investments into companies, and also commercial contracts, quite a wide variety of, everything that a business might want to do in the contractual side. So quite a range of sectors that we deal with, but at the moment we're particularly focused really on digital and technology, hospitality and leisure, healthcare and biotech. There's a lot of that that we're doing at the moment. So as well, I'm a chamber director. I've been the board member for about 4 years now, and I was elected as the vice president in May. So looking forward to meeting more members and working with us and the team going forward. That's me.
Thank you so much, Susan. Louise.
Hi, I'm Louise Byers. I'm Group Head of Corporate Services for Balhousie Care Group. So we are a private healthcare company, and we care for around 1,000 people across 26 sites across Scotland. That's mostly elderly, but also some specialist care as well. So my role is the non-clinical side of the business. So I, myself and my team, look after the IT, the improvement, marketing, PR, legal and compliance. So it was great to hear some of Melissa's story there, some great words of wisdom that we look forward to discussing.
Brilliant, thank you, Louise. So I guess, as I said, I've got so many questions, but I'm going to start with something. So Melissa, I was really struck by a lot of things that you said, and I hope you don't mind me saying that your personal values really shone out in a lot of what you talked about. And that's obviously a huge driver for you. And so I guess my question for you all is, personal values are just such an ingrained part of what we do. And I think sometimes they're more overt in our business lives, and sometimes they're not. But I just wonder where you've come across a challenge to those values, and just what that experience was, and kind of how that played out. So Melissa, I wonder if you would maybe go first, and then I'll go Susan, and then Louise.
Yeah, I think when you create a product, which is really what I've done several times, the product and the business and everything in the culture is a representation of you, which is wonderful in a way, but at the same time, when people don't like it or things don't go well, it's actually very difficult, because it feels like people are attacking you personally, even though that's not what it is at all. But you have to grow some really thick skin. I think when it comes to challenging values, I have not been challenged on my values as much probably as others that have had to work in larger organizations, because I have set them myself. But at the same time, I think that, I have had to let people go from my business where I could see that their values did not match mine, and did not match those of the business. This is things like inherent racism, inherent sexism, putting other people down, the complainer mode that people have, the victim mode, like those are things that don't have a place here. And I have to make hard decisions. There's people who are very, very highly experienced and in a lot of ways very good employees, but that kind of thing, it's just something I can't. It's like a toxic poison that will infect every part of the business if you allow it to stay in.
Susan.
Yeah, a couple of things for me really. Lawyers have probably got a bit of a reputation for being adversarial, but I try to be more collaborative, and that's, you know, I like to work with people rather than against people, and I find that that tends to achieve the best results for me. The other thing is, you know, I've worked in some places where people are treated differently depending on their role, and that's always really, you know, irked me. I think that people should be treated the same. So from the top of the organisation right down to the very bottom, to treat everybody with the same level of respect and not sort of differentiate how you treat them depending on their role. And I think that helps to build a much happier organisation.
Thanks, Susan. Louise.
Yeah, so I guess my experience is more working in companies and larger corporate companies or smaller. And I think I have been in situations where your values can feel not so much questioned, but you're in a situation where it just doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel right. So for me, I think it's always important to take it head on. I think it can be quite easy to get swept away into a situation which doesn't feel right. And I think if you were to do that, it feels really uncomfortable, and you feel that you've maybe, you know, your values need to be there. So the way I usually approach it is to take it head on, but to take everything personal out of it if you've got to address something like that, and not make it personal, but quite factual on why that's wrong. And that's as a leader or if you're in another situation.
Thank you. We've got a question in the chat, and it's a question for you, Melissa, but equally, you know, I think, you know, it's as relevant for the others too. So it's really about the, you know, do you have a mentor that you work with, and who do you sense check things? Who do you bounce things off, ladies? So Melissa, and then we'll go Louise, and then Susan.
So for most of my career, I have not had a mentor. And I wish I would have had one, to be honest, when I look back now. I felt very frightened and alone a lot of the time with goody good stuff. And I had no one to ask and no one to sense check with or to support me. And that was really, really tough. It does give you, you know, some steel inside, right, on the back of it, because you can come through it, and that confidence you build in yourself after getting through something like that, you can't buy or teach. But I think at the same time, Mr. Vaccine, the head of catches, became my mentor in 2015, and to be honest, it was quite shocking because I was like, I didn't trust it really. At the beginning, he was like really supportive and, you know, said, you know, if this doesn't work, don't worry, I'll back you on the next idea. And I had never, ever had that kind of support ever. You know, and he runs a very large business with a ton of very smart people. And I would say to him, I'm having a challenge, and he would say to the head of R&D, help her until she figures it out. And so that was amazing. He also is, in his own words, he says to me, I don't tell you anything that you don't already know. I'm like your mirror, and I'm just giving you the ability to say it out loud to someone else. And I think that's, yeah, he's wonderful. I don't speak to him as much as I used to, because in this business, you know, he doesn't have as many crossover supporting abilities, but he is still extremely dear to me, and I care for him very much. If anything, now I'm a mentor to other people, which I think, you know, work your butt off until you have enough, and then give the rest of it back, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Louise.
I've had a kind of formal mentor previously, and I don't think I have that now, but I definitely have some trusted people who you can pick up the phone to, and, you know, whether it's just a sounding board or to take their advice and get some counsel from them. And I think having different people with different experiences has always been good for me. So if you meet someone in your career, keeping in touch with them is really important, I think.
Susan?
Yeah, no mentor as such, but a lot of very supportive other colleagues in the team that I would bounce things off, you know, if I wanted to sense check anything with them. I would say in terms of the businesses I work with, you know, a lot of people do find it really helpful to have a mentor, especially if they're sort of either startups or going through a growth trajectory, because I think just having, particularly, you know, someone who's in the same industry, I found that a lot of businesses, to have somebody that's experienced in the industry or has been through, say if you're looking for investment, you know, that's been through the same process, just have somebody to kind of sense check things with, I think can be really useful for a lot of companies.
I'll just mention one other thing, Alison. What I found really helpful now, because our business is growing so fast. I've never been in this position before. I've never employed this many people, and I've never, you know, this is the first time for everything. It's fine. I'm not scared, but it is a lot of things that I've never come across before. And I have a coach now for the first time, and I did not think I was going to like it. I was like, what is a coach? But I love it. I love her. She's wonderful. She has helped me no end. And on the back of the success with it, I also got her, not her, but other coaches for all my rest of my C-suite, and all of them are finding it extremely beneficial. So I think when you think about it, like if you're going to continue in medical field, you do CPD, right? So why are you not doing CPD on yourself? It's amazing. I really, really would recommend it to anybody. It's wonderful.
That really ties into another question I had, Melissa, which was about, you know, how do you keep your own level of motivation high? How do you keep kind of coming up with the ideas, and then what does downtime look like for you all? So how does motivation work for you, and then how do you kind of get that balance, Melissa?
I ask that question a lot. I have never struggled with motivation, and I think that that's kind of twofold. So one is, it's kind of my inner character that I will never give up, and that I expect, and I'm totally okay with the fact that a ton of extremely hard work is involved in doing something important and good, and I'm not upset about it, and I don't feel like a victim, and I totally accept it. On the other side, I truly, truly love what I do. So when I get up at 4 in the morning every day, which is what happens every day, and I come to work, I have not gotten up in the last 10 years and thought, oh my God. No, I'm not saying I haven't gotten up and thought this is going to be so hard, or I am so exhausted, but I have never gotten up and thought, I don't want to do this. Never once. I've also never daydreamed about a holiday so I can escape my life. And I think that this is just a difference of, like, I actually do something that I absolutely love every day. And that means that it is a ton of work, but it doesn't feel the same. To somebody who's doing the same number of hours in something they don't love, that would be untenable. I think that's really, really, really important, and something that I'm extremely grateful for. And I do not take for granted. I think the other side is, what does downtime look like? You know, I have 3 kids and a lovely husband, and so I spend all my downtime with my family and a little puppy, Luna, and I love it. That's enough. That is all I need. Like literally the minute I'm in the house, a total shift happens, and I try and give them my undivided attention.
Susan?
Yeah, I think my motivation probably comes from, I guess, kind of client feedback and doing a good job for the clients, because I've probably got quite high standards of kind of service levels, and I'm like that as a consumer, you know, or if you go to a hotel or a restaurant or something, I probably expect quite a high standard of service, so I always want to give that back, and that's probably the main thing that motivates me, is really to do a good job for the client. And particularly on the sort of transactional work that we do, if you're selling or buying a company, it can be quite intense, and you know, to sort of get good feedback from the client and to help them make, you know, quite a difficult process easier for them really kind of motivates me. In terms of downtime, yeah, don't really have very much, but spend it with children and 2 guinea pigs, and yeah, I do dream about holidays, I have to confess. I spend quite a lot of time thinking about that, but not as much time at the moment, given that there's not many opportunities in that side, unfortunately.
Louise?
It's always quite important for me to have purpose in what I'm doing. So if I was to lose or not see a purpose, I think that's when my motivation would slip. But care industry, it's you feel that our purpose is to care for residents. What we have seen is kind of a challenge being leaders of staff who are really burnt out with the COVID pandemic. So it's something that we're trying to do all the time, is how do we keep motivation up in staff. So things like, you know, really short-term objectives is quite important, and trying to give people things to look forward to is being key. But for me, downtime, dogs, family, and keeping fit and healthy is always really important. And if that bit's not right, then I think it transfers into your work life as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Some of this question is specifically it came about because of something that Melissa was talking about, but I think it's, you know, hopefully it's as relevant to the other two. But Melissa, I was really struck by how it's obvious how important data drives a lot of the business decisions that go on, whether it's that super clever algorithm that's asking the consumer what they want, or it's the feedback that you're using, or those surveys you talked about, how your customers have felt through lockdown. So I'm just wondering how that pans out in the actual business. So it's clear that, you know, most, if not all, of your decisions are really data driven. So I'm just interested in actually how that came to be. How did you get that into the DNA of what you're doing, and then how you see that kind of shaping the business going forward?
Yeah, I think when I had Goody Good Stuff, I sold that product in supermarkets and whatever, retail basically. And you have this massive disconnect between you and the customer. So it's very, very difficult to speak to them directly. You have no idea who they are. How can you? You have social media, but that's really it, right? So how do you know how to reach them? With the D2C model we have with Nourished, we can directly communicate with every customer that we have on, I mean, we don't do this, but on a daily basis if we wanted to, but we don't do that. And luckily for us, our customer is highly engaged and very, very happy to share with us. So we have like open rates on our emails of over 70%. That's like the highest that I've ever heard. And answers back on surveys of over 50% when we send them out. Like that's really high. And that means that they want to tell us. And they probably want to tell us because they've seen us do something about it. You know, like I think that is a circular trend that, like, if I tell them something, they won't do anything, I'm not going to share, to, oh, wait, they did something about it, I am going to continue to share because it creates action. That's great. So that's something that, you know, online businesses and the amount of stuff that you can get access to for extremely cheap or free, from online services, software integrations, and so on, it's just amazing. And it's so empowering if you use it in the right way, and you use it to drive the direction of the business, and you don't violate, you know, privacy, etc., which we of course would never ever do. But you know, I think I probably overdid it in the beginning because I was so frustrated by being so disconnected from the customer from Goody Good Stuff that I wanted to make sure that the next model I set up, that would never happen again. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Susan, Louise, I wonder if you've got anything that you can even just share about how data drives the things that happen in your organisations. Susan and then Louise.
Yeah, I mean, we're maybe a bit different because we're more of a service industry, obviously, but we have been, you know, talking to our clients and trying to engage with people to see what they want, because I think, you know, for us in particular, we've got quite a wide range of clients, and different sectors of the business will want different things. So, for example, in corporate, we've got a lot of tech clients who, you know, don't want to receive any paper documents. They want to have the ability to sign things electronically, to, you know, be able to pick up their phone and sign a document on their phone. Whereas then on the private client side, we've got older clients who maybe don't have email, that type of thing. So it's, I suppose for us as well, it's about kind of knowing your clients or your customers and trying to really give them choices and options, and to sort of tailor your products or services accordingly.
Louise?
Similar for us being in a service, but we definitely have started to engage more and with families and residents and participate in, and they can decide, we call it participation charter, but they can make the decisions and drive the business decisions we make. So that's been really positive as well.
Great, thank you. Melissa, your trillion market opportunity it must be really motivational, but does it ever feel like it's too big? Like when you have such a big market opportunity, how do you actually drill that down into targets for the business?
Yeah, I don't really think about it that much. I think when you're doing your initial research for setting up a business, you should check that there is a market for it, and B, that market is going in the right direction from a growth point of view. Like developing a product for a market in decline is very, very risky unless you're going to revolutionize the entire thing, which can be done, but it's not easy, right? So I think that was the first thing that we did, and the validation is there, and it's really exciting to see it. I think when we think about it, the business is a very unique situation because a lot of people that you see selling stuff online don't make a single thing. They buy stuff from China, they sell it on their website, their YouTube channel, their blah, blah, blah. And then they even sometimes don't even touch it. There's a company that makes it in China, ships it directly to the end buyer. We literally make everything here. So when we think about the total size of the market in the long term, it's very exciting. And I have had to write, which I find hilarious, a 10-year business plan. Why? It's so stupid. It's so pointless. It's not worth the paper it's written on, but I've written one because I had to for my Series A, where I just raised all this money. And, in that model, we become, a sizable market shareholder in the vitamin space in that time. It's huge. And when you write the numbers down, it seems totally ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. You're like, that's too many zeros. What is going on? But what I think about on a regular basis is, what does this month look like? What does the rest of the year look like? And what are we going to do in 2022? Because I think that if you go too far ahead of that, you become a dreamer. And dreaming is great, but dreaming doesn't run a business, right? So I think that's important. So what we do is we target the business on 20% month-on-month growth, which is extremely aggressive. And right now we currently benchmark at 33.3% month-on-month growth. So yeah.
Susan, Louise, I wonder if you would just talk about how you and maybe your teams or your departments do the sort of target setting, and how different it's been in the kind of the COVID world. Susan, do you want to go first, and then okay. Louise?
Yeah, I mean, it's not been too different for us really in COVID. I suppose it's been thinking about the teams or the departments that are more likely to grow in the current climate. So, for example, our healthcare side of things has been really busy on pharmacy transactions, that type of thing, because they've not been affected at all by COVID. But like hospitality and leisure, there's kind of different considerations there in terms of growing that market with our clients. So yeah, we're just kind of alive to market conditions and seeing how things go. But we just constantly are kind of looking at new opportunities and looking at where work can come from, different sort of sectors that are growing, that type of thing. So it's just kind of a constant review of what's happening, really.
Louise?
Our portfolio is so diverse in terms of location, so we really have to look at every geography and client group and do it from there. So there's a lot of variables, particularly under COVID. So one example, one of our biggest challenges is recruitment. There's about 20,000 social care worker shortage in Scotland, but that's disappeared with hospitality and people coming over, but now that's a big challenge. So a lot has changed, particularly in our rural areas. So we have to be quite agile with that and just look at what's changing. Someone could open up a new facility or the needs could change. So it really is being quite agile.
Perfect, thank you. This is more of a question just for you, Melissa, than the others, but it's around that investment in businesses, and I know that being a woman can make it harder to get investment, or perhaps I have read where situations where studies where perhaps women are not going for investment in the same levels as men. I just wonder if you might talk a little bit about your own experience of that, and how do we change that if we need to change that whole situation?
So yeah, I think it's probably a combination, but I would say it's definitely a problem that the VCs and the investors don't want. They are actively looking for female-led businesses. They have quotas on it in some cases, and they can't fill them because there's not enough female founder businesses that are asking them for money. They literally have scouts looking for them. So I don't actually agree that it's because there is a systemic issue with them not wanting to invest. And perhaps there was, but there isn't now. Definitely not. If anything, it's gone the other way, and they're desperate to diversify portfolio leaders, and that they can't actually find enough people to do it, right? So, but that doesn't matter. If you're a woman, if you're a minority, and you have a business idea that's not a winner, they're not going to invest in you. Their number one target is to make money for their investors. So you can't come to a table and say, invest in me just because I'm a woman. That's ridiculous, right? And you also wouldn't invest your own money that way, right? So I think it's fair, but I think, yeah, have I had instances where it has been extremely cringy the way that I've been treated? Yeah, once or twice, but the majority of it has never been like that. And I raised the highest female founder seed round in UK history in 2019, and just raised 11 million in my Series A. I'm not saying it was easy, but I did do it from humongous VCs and some of the biggest strategic investors in the world, most of which are located in the United States, and I didn't meet a single one of them.
So how do we encourage more women to do what you've done then, get into that space in the first place?
Yeah, I think it has to start from a very young age, because I think that there are not role models for women to be entrepreneurs like there are for men, right? Being an entrepreneur is actually being falsely sold as like a rock star lifestyle. It is definitely not that. But it is really great in a lot of ways, but there are not as many women leading that charge, getting the share of the limelight and showcasing that to other young women. I'm not saying there are none, that's ridiculous. Definitely there are some, but they're just not as many, and they're certainly not the most famous ones, right? So I think if we can increase the number of people talking about it to set the example, that's the first thing, really. Because I don't think that women, well, I definitely didn't ever think when I was a little girl, I want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up. Never, not even once. Accidentally, I fell into it. And then I found, oh, I'm well suited to this. My personality and my character is well suited to this. But I would have never chose it, ever, yeah.
You've clearly got a kind of a thirst for innovation. Well, it feels like, you know, there are probably more ideas than you've got hours in the day, I guess. But how do you keep coming up with these ideas? And have there been ones that, you know, you've actually thought were going to be super successful, and then really quite quickly, you know, you've realized actually that's not going to come to anything? Or do you always keep them there just mainly in the hope that one day they're going to come back to fruition?
So yeah, so I think there's two things. So yes, I do always have ideas. I have ideas all the time. I've already had several today. But they come from my natural empathy and dissatisfaction with certain things, which then I have, my mother would call it ambitious or stubborn, depending on my mood at the time. Relentlessness in pursuing it until I find a solution. So definitely I think of loads of different things. However, very important lesson that I learned when I was younger, when I tried to do two businesses at once. It is not possible. It is not possible. It is not possible to do two things extremely well at the same time, no matter how awesome you are. You can't. So I have to make a decision and stick to, this is the idea, this is the business, and this is where all my focus should be. And the rest of these ideas are here, and they will be waiting for me when I'm ready. And I think when it comes to, have I developed things that didn't work? Loads of things, yes, absolutely. I mean, Magic Candy Factory was profitable, but it didn't work in the way that I thought it would. It was not the massive explosion business that I thought it would be. And so that was, yeah, and it's hard to walk away from one of your ideas when it's not what you thought it was going to be, but you have to, because it's not a representation of you. There's sometimes when you have an idea like Goody Good Stuff vegan gummy candy, and there's nothing wrong with that idea, you're just too early. You know, so you have to also think, when I was getting told no by everyone in the UK, I went to America and they loved it. It might be the wrong market for your idea. You know, so there's lots of different alternative ways to look at your idea in a different focus or apply it to a different sector. But I think it's a really horrible adage that everybody overuses, but failure is necessary and part of the journey, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And when you fail, it's an absolutely massive learning experience, and count yourself lucky for it. Yeah.
And I guess just something that follows on from that, which I'll ask Louise and Susan as well. Has there been a big personal challenge, you know, in work scenario that you faced, and how you've overcome that?
For me, a personal challenge, not really. So yeah, let's let the other ladies, maybe they have a more personal story.
I'll go Louise and then Susan.
I wouldn't say personal challenge, but there's things that I've had to adapt to and learn from, definitely all the time. I think the past year's been really tough, you know. So I think leading in a crisis situation, which particularly for us in care, seems to have been never ending. You know, it's been relentless for the past year and a half. So I think having to find your energy and lead and that resilience, and lead your team resilience, has been a challenge. I guess historically, sometimes you find the situation, like Melissa saying, you probably have to walk away from it, and whether that's a role or a organisation, you know, I think that can happen in your career as well.
Susan?
Yeah, a few personal challenges in the last year, probably most working from home while trying to homeschool 2 children was one of them. But yeah, I'm always in awe of people like Melissa, because I'm probably quite risk averse. So my challenge sometimes is just trying to step outside my comfort zone and do things that, you know, I'm maybe not so experienced at or I'm not so comfortable with. So that's kind of one of my main challenges, probably. I could never kind of take the risk to think, right, I've got a great idea, I'll go and set up a business, and I'm always hats off to people who can do that. Absolutely.
Melissa, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I try and leave my personal life at the door. And to be honest, they overlap quite a lot, but I think it's good for me. It's also good for my team to be able to have a safe, happy, supportive, positive energy style space when we come to work. And I think that the other team members also like that no matter what happened on your way to work, or you come here and you have happy, smiley, supportive coworkers, and you can be very proud of what we do every day. And I think that's good for your personal development in life. But yeah, I haven't had that many situations where I've had that kind of overflack into my work life.
Yeah. And just lastly, because I'm conscious of time, I'm just interested in what has the pandemic meant for, you know, keeping the team motivated? How have you all kept the team together? Is there anything in particular that's been done? How's that energy been, and how have you managed to keep it where it needed to be while supporting your people? So if we go Melissa, Louise, and then Susan.
So our business is a food factory, so we had status to stay open as normal throughout the pandemic. But our entire kind of what we consider to be the commercial team, so like marketing, finance, customer services, people not involved in the production elements, have been at home ever since. And, you know, to be honest, we already did like Focus Friday. So everybody had Friday to work from home anyway already before the pandemic happened. It was actually really nice. Like people look forward to, me too. I also look forward to. And so when we switched over to everything, it was a little bit of a shock, but not that much. We're a completely cloud-based company. Everything's on the Dropbox. It's mostly very young technology savvy people that are very fine with it. And we're just highly communicative. I have about 75 WhatsApp groups. That sounds crazy, but actually it's really fun. They're very, very, very funny gifts. And we just communicate really well with each other. And I think I personally, as the CEO, have more one-to-ones with my team than I ever have, just to check in with them. Are you okay? But other than that, I think that they haven't really missed a step. I'm so proud of them. They've done a great job. And now that we come back to the office in the hybrid sense, maybe at the end of July, it will just be even nicer just to be able to see their lovely faces and hear them laughing. And yeah, it'll be great.
Louise?
So our kind of head office team done rotational office working, which has worked really well. And I think one of the big benefits has been using Teams, which we didn't use before, and bringing our kind of national teams together. So in that sense, it feels like a lot more collaborative team working, which has been a huge benefit. I think the experience for our staff's been very different depending on where they've been. So some staff have, been in dealing with COVID outbreaks, which has been, a really dramatic experience. Other homes haven't. But I think we'll need to wait and see how we continue to support staff with the long-term effects of that, whether they've had it or not.
Susan?
Yeah, I mean, similar, we took the decision that we would focus on just sort of keeping in touch as a team rather than as a firm. We'll have like maybe 6 monthly firm catch-ups, but there's too many people really to do anything other than that. So in the corporate and commercial team, we used to meet in person on a Monday, but now we just do Monday Teams catch-ups and an extra Thursday Teams catch-up, and then drinks every second Friday at 5. So I've probably kind of spoken to people, certainly the Glasgow colleagues, more than I ever would have normally. So I've not, it's been really good and it's kept everybody together. So we've not had any issues in that regard.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, I think that I'm conscious of time, so I just want to do my thank yous. Melissa, thank you so much for taking the time to dial in and talk to us today. Really, really insightful and inspiring. And to Susan and Louise, thank you for your time. To Sarah for well organising us as always, and to you for joining us. If you're here in person or you're watching this on our YouTube channel, I'm hugely grateful to you for joining and listening to the event today. Just one little shout out. So our next event that we've got is actually our quarterly economic indicator. So we ask all the questions of our businesses about how they're doing, and we produce a report, and then we've got a satisfaction survey that comes out. So that's happening on the 6th of July. So I hope to see you all there. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch up with you at another event. Thank you.
Bye.